Okay, so welcome everybody. Today's class, we are focusing on Padangusthasana. Padangusthasana. Specifically, not just Padangusthasana, which means hand to big toe hold, right? Or hand to big toe pose. So there's the version of this that we can do as a forward fold where we hold the big toes, right, as an anchor. And there's also the standing or laying down sequence that we do, which is Utthita, Hasta Padangusthasana, right? So it's an extended hand to big toe hold. So that's often where we're standing, holding the foot straight out in front of us and then out to the side and then crossing the body. So that's the sequence that we do. We often do it laying down as well. So that's why you have straps with you. But it's a fairly simple kind of position, right? When you think of it as like, okay, like it's a hamstring stretch, right? But it's really about the range of motion of your leg in the pelvis, right? Its ability to be straightforward, to be out, rotated out to the side, and then over, crossing the body, which gets into outer hip and thigh. So it's really about the full balanced extension of the leg. And my thought with it that I think is so crucial is that by having that connection, right, the name of the pose actually says that you have to be holding the big toe. You have to be holding your foot, right? So many of us are going to say, well, but if I hold my foot, I can't straighten my leg, right? So I can't do the pose. Incorrect, right? So you think of this, we use straps today, but in ancient times, yogis wouldn't have had straps. That all they would have had to add resistance to this kind of stretch is literally their own hands. Right? So what you're working with here is an understanding of how to stretch through your pelvis, through your back, through your legs in a way that uses resistance, right? That this is the power of Padangusthasana, is that by having something solid to hang on to, right, you're given a very direct understanding of how long your limbs are and what range of motion is with resistance, right? So that's what I want you to have in mind, is that what you're working with here is by having something steady to hold on to, it actually gives you the ability to understand how to stretch better, right? We get more, we get wiser when we have resistance, right? Something to hang on to. So comfortable seat, with the eyes closed, just for a moment, bring yourself inward. And just that idea that you have everything that you need to be able to feel your whole self, right? That by reaching for one part of you, it might feel again like that sets up a limitation, but it also gives you something solid to work against, work with. So resistance, we say, is always our greatest friend. Doesn't always have to feel like an enemy. A couple of deep breaths just to settle. And then bringing the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. We'll open with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. So release your hands, bring your hands to your knees, your thighs for a moment. Do a little bit of cat and cow while you're seated so that you are letting your spine just start to move. So hamstring stretching is a tricky thing, right? If you want the leg to be able to extend, and we want it to be able to extend not just straight ahead, but rotated, externally rotated and internally rotated. That's what happens when we cross the leg over the bodies, we're internally rotating. So to be able to do that, we have to have a lot of openness, not just in the back of the leg, but through the groins. We have to have an openness through the outer hip and thigh. We have to have an openness through the lower back, right? So if you're going to focus on a pose like this one that is very kind of heavy on that hamstring activity, is you have to free up your back first. You have to free up your hips first. Good. So let your pelvis rock forward and back in your cat and cow. Good. And then slowly find yourself coming to stillness, please. Good. With the feet flexed and the knees crossed just as they are, just forward fold where you are. Just walk yourself straight ahead. Good. Just make sure your feet are flexed. Good. And I want you to notice, again, it may be dependent on which foot or which leg you have crossed in front of you, but notice where there is maybe a little bit of restriction in the back. So where do you feel like you get the most stuck? In the lower spine, the middle spine, upper spine? Good. Is it the shoulders or the hips? Is one side tighter than the other? Good. Take one more breath, letting yourself just drop in. Again, you're just noticing, you're just taking stock of what is my body doing, so that as I practice, I'm aware of where the restriction is and I can work with that. Good. Bring yourself all the way back up to sit. Nice. Find your way onto your backs. Bring your block with you. Good. And on your back, bend your knees, plant your feet hip width apart, lift your hips up off the floor, place a block underneath your sacrum so you're coming into a supported bridge pose. Good. And then I want you to, in that bridge pose, feel like you are exaggerating this arch in your lower spine, right? So you're letting yourself almost arc into your lower back, like you're going to let your butt fall off the block. So you want there to be more of that feeling of your lower spine elongating. So like you're tilting the top of your pelvis towards your toes. Good. Groins going down. Nice. So you're on your back, supported bridge pose. There you go. Yeah, you froze for a second there, Kristen. So on your back, supported bridge. Good. And you're exaggerating the feeling of, again, like you're letting your butt, your tailbone fall off of the blocks. You're creating more arch in the lower spine. Good. So that you get into that softening of the groins. Nice. And then once you found that, don't put any more effort into it. Just let your spine go into that position, then relax your ribs, relax your shoulders. Good. And then you're imagining that in this position, so the pelvis is tilted slightly forward and the block is supporting that you're letting the thigh bones anchor into the hip socket. So when we're stretching any limb long, there's the counter action that we have to do, that when we straighten the leg, we also have to be pulling in. So there's the part of Padangusthasana that is, okay, how long can I get my leg to be? How much can I stretch it out? But there's also the how much can I integrate that limb into the core of the body. So how much can I integrate my thigh bone into the hip socket? Good. So you're allowing that to happen here, letting gravity kind of pull the pelvis towards the floor as the thigh bones, you can imagine them sinking into the hip socket, in and up. Good. And then set your arms alongside you like you would for bridge. So either arms straight and palms facing down, or bend the elbows into robot arms. Good. So either one, as long as you can push into the arms. Good. Press into your feet. And then I want you to try to maintain this kind of tilted forward position of your pelvis. Press into the arms and lift your butt up off the block, maybe just an inch or so. So you're not even trying to push up into your full bridge. You're just engaging your glutes, lifting your hips up, but keep trying to tilt your pelvis slightly forward so that your groins are moving down towards the floor and you're getting that feeling of pulling your hip points away from your ribs. Good. And then release the low back down onto your block. Nice. You can do that 2 more times. So find again the tilt of the pelvis if you lost it when you lifted the hips, and then pressing down through the arms, engage those lower shoulder muscles, mid-back muscles, pressing into the feet, lifting the hips up, but try to maintain that arched position of your spine. Good. And then release the hips back down or the pelvis back down onto the block. Good. And then one more time, setting the arms, setting the pelvis, again, finding the tilt first, pressing into your feet, lifting up, and then still really trying to maintain. You're tilting the top of your pelvis towards your toes. So tailbone down towards your heels. Good. Arching the lower back. Nice. And then release the hips back down onto the block. Good. Keep your left foot planted on the floor. Draw your right knee in towards your chest. You're still resting on the block. Good. Hold behind the back of your thigh and just start to extend that right heel up towards the ceiling. Press your thigh against your hand. So you're coming into like a hamstring stretch. Good. Try to continue to tilt your pelvis forward. So you're still trying to keep that arch in your lower spine. Good. And you're concentrating on the thigh bone pushing down. So draw that right thigh bone down towards the floor. Good. So less focus on trying to push up through the heel, but pull down into your lower back and then press the thigh against the hands. Press it away from you. Good. Press away, press away, press away. Use the resistance and push down. Good. Nice, you guys. And then bend that knee. Bring the knee back in towards your chest. Good. And then step that right foot down to the floor. Nice. Bring the left knee in. Reach around, hold behind the thigh. Start to extend your left heel up towards the ceiling. Does not matter if the leg comes straight, right? Especially right now, like don't focus on trying to get your leg straight. Work with the resistance that's here, all right? So you're focusing on pushing the thigh into the hand. So you're moving the top of your thigh away from your low belly. Focus on that. Use the resistance. And then pull that left thigh bone down to the floor. Good. So instead of pressing up through the heel, pull down and continue to have that little arch in your lower back. So you're bringing your groins forward. This is important because if we're tucking the tail or we're tucking the pelvis up when we're in a standing position or even laying down, this is going to restrict the way that the leg is able to move in the hip socket. So we want to have this feeling of having the groins moving down towards the floor, even as the thigh is lifting up towards the belly. So a lot of opposition. Push that thigh against your hands. One more breath. Press that thigh down, top of the thigh down. Good. Nice, Joanne. And then bring that knee back in towards your chest. Good. And then release that foot down to the floor. Nice job. Lift your butt up off of the block. Place your block off to the side. Slowly bring the hips down to the floor. Good. Draw your knees in towards your chest and then bring them as wide as your armpit. So it's like you're doing child's pose on your back. So widen the knees. Let the big toes can come towards each other. Good. So the knees go wide, big toes come towards each other. And then you're pressing your knees towards your armpits, hands in front of your shins. Good. And then push your shins back against your hands. So it's like you're squeezing your knees in this upside down child's pose, and you're pressing your shins back against your hands. And then from that, try and push your low back down to the floor. So your shins are pushing towards the ceiling against your hands. Your low back is pushing down into the floor. So your thigh creases, where your thigh meets your hip, gets softer, right? Gets deeper. Good. One more breath, pushing through the low back, pushing through your shins. Awesome. And then bring the knees in towards the chest, please. Squeeze them together. Take your right thigh on top of your left, stacking the knees, separate your feet, reach for the ankles or the shins. Good. Same idea here is the knees are curling up towards your chest. So let that happen. Let your knees rotate up towards your chest. Good. And then you're pressing down through the lower back. So try and feel again that you draw the low belly in to support the spine and then press down through the width of your sacrum. So the knees curl up, but your lower back presses down and wide. Good. So it's almost like you're trying to push outward through your sit bones as you draw your knees up and in. Good. Nice. And now as you're holding your feet, squeeze your ankles towards each other. So imagine them going towards each other instead of away. So you're holding them wide, but squeeze them towards each other. Use resistance. Nice. And then try and push your inner thighs away from each other, even though they're still touching. Good. Low back roots down to the floor. Awesome. Nice, you guys. Squeeze the knees back towards each other. Sorry, not squeeze the knees, release the feet, sorry. And unwind the legs. Yeah. I don't know what my brain was trying to tell you there, but unwind the legs. Bring your knees in towards your chest and go to the other side. Take the left leg on top of the right. Good. Separating the feet, reaching for the ankles or the shins. Nice. So flexing the feet, because we do have the knees in a non-neutral position. They're in a rotated position. So keep the feet flexed. Good. And then the knees are drawing up in towards your chest. So again, this is all about understanding the position of your thigh bones with your hip socket. Good. So as the knees come up towards your chest, you can again imagine those thigh bones dropping down into the actual space of your pelvis that they are designed to occupy. So they soften in. And then you're pressing down and out through your lower back, pushed out through your sit bones. Good. So this action of pushing back, right? This is very important in Padangusthasana so that there's a feeling that you are lengthening your back or that you are staying really stable with your pelvis to shoulder alignment. The actual alignment of your back stays very steady so that what the legs are doing in whatever orientation is you're working from the most neutral position possible. Squeeze your feet towards each other, even though your hands are holding them wide. Good. So you engage that squeezing energy. Good. Press your low back down to the floor, low belly in. Nice. And then feel as though you are trying to push your inner thighs away from each other, even though they are still touching. So like someone's trying to shove a hand, right, between your thighs. You're trying to move away to make space. Good. And then slowly release, unwind your legs, bring the knees in towards your chest. Good. Bring the bottoms of the feet together here. So knees wide, like you're in Padangusthasana. Don't drop the feet to the floor. Draw the heels in towards your groin. Angle the knees up towards your armpits. Good. So again, it's like you're not rolling towards your tails. You're actually drawing the knees up towards the armpits. Nice. And then go ahead and squeeze the knees towards each other just a little bit. So you're engaging. Don't bring them all the way together, but squeeze them in. Press down through your low back at the same time. So the knees are squeezing in, but you're pressing down and wide. Good. If you're doing that from your butt instead of your inner thighs, try and get it to feel like it's your inner thighs squeezing. Butt presses down. Good. And then heels are in. Let your knees go wide. Release the squeeze. Awesome. And then start to take your legs straight up towards the sky, straight up, no hands. So stretch your arms out wide, letter T. Good. Pressing your palms down to the floor. So again, you have a feeling of stable. I'm pressing down through my upper body, pressing down through my middle ribs. Good. Look at where your feet are pointing. They should be roughly as though if you were standing straight on the ceiling, your feet are parallel, right? Start to turn your heels towards each other and turn your toes out away from each other and just see how far you can go with that. So like you're turning outward, like a ballet position, heels in, toes out, inner thighs stay together. Good. Press down through your lower back. Just see what that feels like. Good. And then rotate your feet back towards center. Nice. Separate your feet just a little bit so that there's space, and then start to turn your toes in towards each other, heels out. This is internal rotation. Good. So you just notice what it feels like, how it feels, where it feels. Good. Bring it back to center, back to parallel. Good. Now keeping your right leg straight up towards the ceiling. Keep that low back anchor to the floor. Start to take your left leg out and down to the floor. So you're splitting the legs. Right leg stays up, left leg extends all the way out and down to the floor. Let it hover above the floor. Good. And then pull that heel in towards your hip socket. So squeeze it in. Yeah. And then start to lift it back up. Good. Watch, Lorraine, that you don't lock your knee though. All the way back up. Good. Now the left leg stays straight up towards the ceiling. Do the same thing with the right leg. Start to drop it forward towards the floor. Navel draws in. Notice how your ribs want to pull away. Good. As that heel comes forward, squeeze in, pull in from your heel, pull up into the hip, and then start to take that leg back up towards the ceiling. Good. All the way back up. Nice. Right leg stays up towards the ceiling. Left leg begins to drop. Essentially just making you do like Padangusthasana in reversal, right? Good. Press out through that heel, but then squeeze in. Get softer behind the knee. So it's all about your thigh bone up, up, up. And then take the leg all the way back up to center. Good. And then you're keeping the left leg up. Take the right leg out and down. Good. So on the downward, you're feeling the extension, right? Pulling away. And then once you get there, hover above the floor and pull in, integrate. So you feel your low back pushing down more. And then from your low belly, start to lift that leg back up. Nice. Awesome. Pull your knees in towards your chest. Good. Roll around on the spine a little bit. So resistance is not always that you have to have something solid that you're pushing against, right? We create useful tension or useful engagement, resistance in the body all the time. Drop your feet to the floor, please. Knees bent. Set your arms for bridge pose. And then go ahead, inhaling, lifting through the rib cage, lift your hips up off the floor. Try and find this feeling that if you lift up all the way and you're squeezing your butt and you're pushing your thighs to the ceiling, that you soften that a little bit. So you let your butt cheeks soften a little bit. You let your hips drop a little bit. Roll those groins down towards the floor. Try and find a little bit more of that arch in your lower back. Good. Again, tilting the pelvis towards your heels. Nice. And then slowly release the hips all the way down to the floor. Nice job. Separate your feet just a little wider. Let your knees fall in towards each other. So the opposite of Baddha Konasana, knees drop in. Let the arms relax. So again, this is just to give you a second to let your lower back relax. Because this is the key to this pose working well, right? It's you understanding the rotation of the leg without resistance, right? Without having to hold it there, that the power of your legs in Padangusthasana is that they should be able to essentially hold themselves so that the resistance of the hand becomes an asset. It's not something that's actually making your pose more difficult. It's something that makes it easier, right? So we're building strength in the legs to be able to hold themselves in these positions so that when we use the hand is actually just assistance, right? It's not the, what do you call it? It's not the lifeline of the pose. Good. Yeah, so if you didn't know what Padangusthasana was, right, now you kind of have that sense, right? Laying on your back, it's having that leg extended up, in theory, holding the big toe, right? So that's what we're simulating. Walk your feet back towards each other. Take your legs back up to the sky. I know, it's just super fun. Good, take your arms out wide, letter T. Pressing the palms flat to the floor. So again, you have this sense of anchoring down through your middle rib cage. So if there's a big arc in the middle of your back, try and draw those ribs down to the floor. Feel the lifting of your low belly. So you're drawing in and up through the low belly, pressing down through your sacrum. Good. Now turn your feet out again to that ballet position. So the heels together, toes turn out, and don't go to the extreme, right? Of this is how much I can pull my feet in this direction, but go to what feels like it's fairly natural. Keep your low back anchored down to the floor. Good. And then start to let your left leg stays where it is. Right leg starts to fall open just a little bit. Yep. From this position. Yeah. As soon as your left low back starts to come off of the floor, that's where you got to stop. Keep pressing that left low back down. I know, you're like, but that's not as far as I can go. And then squeeze that heel back up. Good, nice. Do the other side. So the right leg stays center. Take the left leg out. Good, only so far that the right side is not pulling away from the floor. Push your right butt cheek, right low back down to the floor. Use the abdominals here and inner thighs. Pull the legs back up to center. Good, let the right leg go out again. Should feel like a reasonable amount of effort's going into this, right? Keep your low ribs rooted to the floor, press that left butt cheek down, and then bring the legs back up. So it's all inner thigh energy that's got to bring them back up. Left leg goes wide again. Good, keep your low ribs down to the floor. Again, don't get into how far can I go? Keep your right side rooted to the floor. The point is to feel where your stability is, to have that opposing action, resistance. Take the leg back up. Good. Take both legs out and wide. Straddle. Good. Same energy, right? As though you are keeping your low back rooted to the floor and you are resisting that kind of gravity that would say just to let your legs fall open at any angle. So don't let your toes turn out any more than they already were. Good. Nice. And a little bit of that feeling that you're still squeezing the ankles towards each other, but you're letting your thighs go wide. So let your thighs drop a little wider, but then squeeze the ankles towards each other. And let your thighs drop wider, but keep that little squeeze of the ankles. Good. So again, we're just working the positions of Padangusthasana without using the hand. It's actually more work this way. And then take the legs all the way back up, squeeze those inner thighs towards each other. Nice. And then bend your knees in towards your chest. Good. Take your knees wide to happy baby. Reach for your ankles or for your feet. Good. Stacking the heels on top of the knees. Keep the lower back anchored to the floor. Good, you guys. Good, and then bring the knees back together, please. Good, cross your right thigh on top of your left, again, stacking the knees. And then this time, squeeze the shins towards each other, so you're coming into eagle legs. Good, and you're drawing the shins towards each other. Flex your feet, please. So the thighs are crossed, shins are touching as much as they can. So again, you're working the internal rotation. Flex your feet. Good. And then try to here, reach your own hands in between the thighs. Good. So wedge your hands in there as though you are turning your palms to either thigh with your thumbs facing down and pull apart. So both hands inside the thighs, like back to back, and try and pull your thighs apart as you squeeze your shins together. Good. I know it might not make any sense. Usually I would be the one trying to do this to you, but pull your thighs apart, squeeze your shins together, press into your lower back and draw those knees in towards your chest. Good. Squeeze them in and pull your thighs apart. Good. And then slowly release. Good. Unwind your legs, plant your feet. I know. Set your arms for bridge. And then slowly, as you are ready, lifting through the chest, feel the openness of the upper back, and then lift the hips as well. Nice. Good. Again, having space in the spine is what makes Padangusthasana the most accessible. Good. Come on back down. We also need a lot of glute stability, right? To be able to keep the supporting leg, the leg that is not rotating, in a stable position. So that's why I keep going back to these things that are glute activating, and that's bridge pose. Okay. Bring the knees back in towards your chest. Come into eagle on the other side. So the left thigh on top of right, or right thigh on top of left. Right thigh on top, left thigh on top of right. All right. Just make sure you cross your legs the opposite way that you just did. Should feel different. Good. And squeeze your shins together. That's where I want most of your focus to be, is the pressing the shins against each other. And then both hands from the inside. So don't reach from the outside to your inner thighs. Reach from the inside and wedge your hands, if you can, in between the thighs, and then pull apart. So push your hands away from each other. Good. Like you're trying to pull your thighs away from each other, but press your shins together. And then draw the knees in towards the chest and press down through your lower back. Can't stress this enough, that this feeling of being able to push down and wide through your pelvis, or drawing in and wide through your rib cage, is that this is the support for Padangusthasana. Good. Especially extended Padangusthasana, because I keep using the term kind of interchangeably for the different variations. Good. Slowly release, hug your knees back in towards your chest. Nice. And then set the feet down one more time, one more bridge pose. Set your arms alongside you, pressing down the arms, pressing into the feet, rise up, trying to maintain, again, that little bit of an arch in your lower spine. So again, you're softening the groins down. Drag your heels back. Good. Long throat. Beautiful. And then release the hips all the way down to the floor. Nice job. Knees in towards your chest. Good. Roll forward and back on the spine, and then bring yourself all the way up to sit. Good. Bring the bottoms of the feet together, please. Knees drop wide. And stretch your arms out wide, letter T. Take the right arm on top of the left, stacking the elbows, wrapping the forearms for eagle. Good. Nice. Then do little circles with the elbows. So again, because part of the extended Padangusthasana is that you are reaching the foot or the hand to the foot, is that we have to have some chest and shoulder opening as well, right? So it does not do you any good to say, oh, my arms are really tight and I'm trying to extend them, right, as long as my legs. So that's where, again, if you have the kind of anatomy where you're like, well, my legs are way longer than my arms, right? That's just a reality. You want the arms to be as open as possible, and to recognize that it might not be the full expression of the pose for you to have your legs straight. That's where we get stuck in our heads. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Stretch the arms up alongside your ears. Good. And then stretch the arms out and down. Take your fingertips back behind your hips. So you're in Baddha Konasana, but hands behind your hips. Good. Push into your hands so that you are almost leaning forward. So you push into your hands behind you in order to start to lift your spine or lift your low back longer. So you're leaning forward with your hands behind you. Good. And then keep them there, pushing into the floor. Good. Navel in towards your spine, and let yourself drop even lower into your forward fold. Keep your hands behind you. So you keep pushing the floor away and keep trying to lift and lengthen into your forward fold from your lower back. Good. So all of the effort is coming from tilting your pelvis forward into that forward position. Good. So it doesn't matter how low you come. You can squeeze the knees up for stability if you need, but lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Pull from your armpits, pull from the low back. Good. And then walk yourself back up. Nice. Stretch the arms out wide. Left arm on top of right. Wrap the forearms. Do little circles. The arms are an eagle, other arm on top. Good. So again, my thought is that, the ancient yogi didn't have a strap to do this pose. The only way that they could really work with comprehending shoulder opening, spine extension, and hamstring stretching was to use their own anatomy. So you don't need anything more than your own resistance, but straps are definitely handy if you are someone whose legs are much longer than your arms, or your range of flexibility in your legs is not prepared, right, to be able to go that far. But I want you to be able to be comfortable in doing the pose even without the strap, because your leg does not have to be straight for you to be in the pose, right? It's the orientation of the thigh in the hip socket that matters. Good. Come back to stillness. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Good. Either keep the arms here, or if this feels like it's a lot to stay lifted with the arms up, then take your hands back behind you again. Good. And start to bow forward with that same energy, the long spine, where you are reaching from the lowest part of your sacrum as you lean forward, forward fold. Good. Keeping the arms in line with your ears if you have them lifted, otherwise pushing the floor away from behind your hips, and extend, push back through your sit bones. So you're pushing into your back of your pelvis as you lift the top of your pelvis forward and extend. Extend, extend, extend. So it's all rotating your pelvis around your thigh bones. Good. Nice. Then release the hands down to the floor for a moment if you have them overhead. Really nice, Sarah. It was good, Kristen, too. Awesome. And then walk yourself back up. Beautiful. Stretch your right leg straight out in front of you. Good. Bring your left knee up in towards your chest. Good. Step it over your right thigh. Left foot steps over right thigh. Right arm wraps around your knee. Left hand comes back behind you. So other way, Joanne. Other arm. Right arm wraps around, left hand behind you. Good. So spinal twist. Pulling that thigh in, lifting your belly up. Again, this is for you to get longer in your spine. So it's not so much how deeply can I twist to the left, but how much can you pull up through your low back. Good. And pull that thigh in. So what that left leg is doing is, again, working with internal rotation, what it's going to feel like to cross that leg over the body. Good. Nice. And then release. Come back to center, please. Step the left leg out in front of you. Bend the right knee in. Step the foot over your left thigh. Good. Left arm wraps around the knee. Right hand comes back behind you. Spinal twist. Same thing as you're looking for the stretch on the outer edge of the thigh. Good. Into the lower back. Keep lifting as tall as you can. And as you lift up taller, again, you might feel yourself rolling towards the front edge of your sit bones. You want that. Good. And then as you lift up as tall as you can, draw your navel in and almost push backwards. Good. Push back into the wideness of your lower back as though there's a wall that you're going to find behind you. Good. And then slowly release and unwind. Nice job. So take both legs out, bend the knees, cross the ankles, roll forward to hands and knees, and then surprise, downward facing dog. Let's get off the floor. You thought maybe this would be one of those days where we just don't get off the floor. Not quite. Good. Bend your knees, please, towards the floor, deep. So dropping the knees towards the floor. Again, this is for the angle of your pelvis. So as you drop the knees low, keep your low belly lifted up. Drop your hips towards your heels. Drop them low. Knees hovering over the floor. Hips hovering over your heels. Good. Almost like you're in child's pose, but knees lifted just up off the floor. Good. And then navel to spine. Lift your hips all the way up towards the ceiling. Come up on your tippy toes. Squeeze everything in. Up on your tippy toes. Squeeze your thigh bones up into your hip socket. Good. And then maintain that. Soften the heels. Bend your knees again. And keep trying to feel like you're pulling your thighs up into your hip socket as you drop your butt towards your heels. Good. And then take the legs back towards straight, pushing the sit bones up towards the sky, squeezing everything up and in, up on your tippy toes. Pull up. Good. And then one more time, keep that pulling up. Soften the heels, bend your knees. Good. And then take the legs towards straight, lifting the hips, coming up on the tippy toes. Nice. And then relaxing through the heels. Step your right foot between the hands. Step your left foot in just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Parsvottanasana. Use blocks underneath the hands if you need. Good. So the outer left hip is spinning slightly forward. Good, Lorraine. I would separate your feet a little wider, right and left. There you go. Good. Feel as though you are pushing your inner thighs away from each other. Nice. And then start to walk your hands towards the outside edge of your front foot. So both hands coming to the baby toe edge of your foot. Good. So as you walk yourself in that direction, your outer left hip spins forward even more. Keep pushing your right inner thigh and right hip wide to the right. So you're not letting that hip collapse as you move your torso. Good. One more breath. Nice, Shannon. Just let that outer left hip spin forward even a little bit more. Yeah, let it go with you. There you go. Good. And then bring yourself back to center, please. Good. Bend your front knee. Step your left foot forward. So both feet forward, top of your mat. Separate your feet as wide as your mat. Feet facing straight ahead. Bend your knees. Drop your thighs parallel to the floor. Good. Bring your hands inside the knees if you can. So fingertips to the floor, arms inside your shins. Good. So you have something to push wide. So bend your elbows wide out into your forearms or into the inner thighs. So bend your elbows wide, push wide with your forearms. Don't let your butt come lower than parallel. So both Joanne and Lorraine, lift your butt a little higher. Make sure your feet turn straight ahead. Good. So you're pushing wide with your arms and then squeeze your shins in and try and flare those sit bones. So actually feel like you're trying to pull your butt cheeks away from each other as you draw your shins in. Push back like you're pushing your tail to the wall behind you. Good. And now scooping your belly. Don't change any of that. Start to push your hips to the sky. Start to straighten your legs. Push down into your heels, but still feel you're hugging your shins, but pushing your thighs wide, butt cheeks wide as you lift your hips any amount. Good. Nice. And then release the hands, heel toe your feet a little bit closer together. Step yourself back to plank pose. Yep. Lower down to your belly. Good. Rise up into cobra. Lift head, neck, and chest. Good. And then lower back to your belly, please. Left arm stays exactly where it is. Stretch your right arm out in front of you. Right arm straight out in front of you on your fingertips. So you're doing like a one-armed cobra. So as you rise up, head, neck, and chest, you're going to lift that right arm in line with your shoulder. So try and lift it all the way up. The left hand is still in traditional cobra. So as you inhale, lift head, neck, and chest, reach that right arm up alongside your shoulder, as high as it will go. I know you're like, this is way harder. Good. And then release back down. Plant the right hand, traditional cobra. Stretch your left arm out in front of you. Good. And then as you inhale, rise up into cobra, lift that left arm up in line with your shoulder. Good. Drag back on that right hand. So this really tells you where you're doing the work in cobra and where you aren't. And then release. Left hand plants traditional cobra. Right arm comes forward. Rise up, lifting up. This is, again, I want the body to be able to, the limbs of the body to be able to maintain themselves in these lifted positions so that there's not one part of you dragging on another. Release back down. Right hand plants, left arm extends. Good. Lift back up into cobra. Left arm stays alongside your ear. Plant those feet. Use the muscles of the back from the top to the bottom. Yes, nice, Kristen. And then slowly release. One more time, right arm forward. Don't cry. Rise up. Good. Nice. Press through your shins. Nice. Release. Last time, left arm. Good. Your back of your arms will feel this too. Rise up, cobra. Nice. And then slowly release. Beautiful. Press up to hands and knees. Take a child's pose. So take your knees wide, big toes together to touch. Have you successfully completely forgotten what the pose of the class is yet? Yes. Padangusthasana. All of this to make it so that when you are extending a leg and an arm and trying to reach your hand to your big toe, that you have such stability, legs and arms are engaged, core is engaged, and there's an openness that whatever angle you need to take that leg at is you have the ability to do it. You have the freedom to do it. Good. Walk yourself back up, come back to hands and knees, press back downward facing dog. Good. Left foot steps forward between the hands. Right foot steps in just a little bit. Parsvottanasana, second side. Use blocks underneath the hands if you'd like. Good. Outer right hip spins forward. Good. Again, choosing this posture because it is, first of all, it is a pretty intense hamstring stretch just on its own, but that it really does ask you to get into the space of your back as well as the backs of your legs. So you could keep the knees bent here and really work that same energy that you did in down dog, with bending the knees, scooping the belly, pressing up through the back of your sacrum. Good. The whole back is involved. Start to walk your hands, both hands, towards the baby toe edge of your front foot. So as you walk your torso to the left, your outer right hip can spin forward more, and you're getting a little bit more of the stretch on the outer edge of the thigh. Again, important for that third variation or that third orientation of Padangusthasana, extended Padangusthasana. Good. And then walk yourself back towards center. Nice. Bend your left knee, step your right foot forward, top of your mat. Good. Bend your knees a lot, like you're in chair, dropping the hips nice and low. Let your hands touch something of the floor or blocks. Good. Yeah. So you feel yourself again using the energy of your butt for chair. So you actually are dropping the hips nice and low, and then letting the upper body still hang, right? Start to scoop your belly, push your butt up towards the sky, straighten your legs any amount. Good. Feel as though you are pushing your inner thighs wide, hugging your shins. Nice. Good. Now bend your knees again, back towards chair. Again, making sure your hands are touching something. This time, push into your hands, even if it's just your fingertips, if your hands can't be flat. So push into them, lift your chest. So your knees are bent, but lift your chest. Good. So you have that sort of a straight spine or a long spine in the upper body, but bend your knees and scoop your low belly. Good. Now start to straighten your legs any amount, keeping your arms pushing into the floor or your blocks. Straighten your legs any amount. Don't keep your head craned up, but keep your spine long. Good. And then bend the knees again. Yep, all the way down towards that chair position. Now see if you can take your hands maybe to your ankles. Take your hands to your ankles and squeeze. Good. And a nice straight arm. So bring your arms to, again, pushing into that straightness. Lift your chest up with your knees still bent. Good. Chest up. Draw those shoulder blades towards each other. Start to straighten your legs any amount. Scooping the belly, pushing the sacrum towards the sky, pushing your inner thighs wide. Does not matter if your legs come straight. Again, you have something steady to hold on to. Pull your arm bones into your chest. Yeah. And then bend your knees again one more time. Optional here, if holding the ankles feels pretty good and you want to actually reach for the big toes, first two fingers of each hand wrap around the big toe, thumb comes over top. So this is the option. Good. So hanging on there, same thing. Nice long arms, straight arms. So find the straight arms, lifting through the chest, pulling your arm bones up and pressing through your feet. Start to straighten the legs any amount. This is the first version of Padangusthasana. Good. And then you can, from that position, begin to bend the elbows wide again, keeping the arm bones into the shoulder socket, bend the elbows wide and draw your chest towards your thighs. That's if your legs are fairly straight. If they're not, stay where you are and just work that position. Good. And then slowly release, please. Nice. Hands to the floor, step back, downward facing dog. Good. Drop your knees to the floor. Child's pose, or sitting back on your heels. If child's pose does not feel as fantastic and you'd rather sit back on your heels or on a block in Virasana, that also works. So the position, holding the feet, gives you a really solid set of circumstances to work with, right? It's often why, you know, when we have access to the wall, we use the wall because it's so solid, it's unforgiving, right? It's the kind of resistance that does not give. So using your own body anatomy to hold the ankles or the feet, right, gives you, and it gives you a structure that does not give, right? Your arms are not getting any longer. Your anatomy is not going to change. Gives you a wall where there is no wall, right? So the beauty of that is just to start to find, by having that connection, is you can lengthen in so many different ways. You can engage in so many different ways. You can turn a forward fold into a shoulder opener if you're really working through that upper arm energy, right? The legs do not have to be straight. The important thing is that you are finding the degree of extension that works within that framework of holding your feet. Walk yourself back up, please. Come to sit on your butt. Good. On your butt, legs out in front of you. Nice. So here is where I will let you use a strap momentarily. So if you'd like to use your strap. So this is the first version of extended, the Hasta, Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, the extended hand to big toe. So let's try it this way first. Place your strap to the side just for a moment. I will let you use it in a second. Draw your right knee in towards your chest. Keep your left leg extended. So that left leg is extended, the same kind of energy you had when we were doing that leg exercise on your back. So that left leg is extended as though your life depends on it, right? Heel is rooting down and you're pulling that thigh bone up and in. So it's helping to support your seat. And then with that right knee pulling in towards your chest, take your elbow to the inside of the knee because it's just easier to reach, and try and take your first two fingers to the big toe. Wrap your fingers around the big toe. Flex your foot. Good. So again, this position might not be comfortable, and if it's really uncomfortable, you can take the hand around the baby toe edge of the foot instead. So wrapping around a larger part of the foot, same idea. With the energy of that thigh, lift your foot up off the floor. So the leg is doing the work itself. Lift it up. And then pull that right arm bone into the shoulder socket. Sit up. Sit slightly forward. Good. Press your butt back, sort of like you did in Padangusthasana. Good. Now start to extend your right foot forward any amount towards straight without letting your shoulder go into that crazy unbalanced position. Keep your arm pulling back. If your leg cannot come to straight, I don't care. Keep your spine long. Keep the knee bent so that you can actually push into that connection with your hand. Butt goes back. You got it. Good. And then draw the knee back in towards your chest. Good. Same foot, reach for your strap if you're using a strap. Place the strap around the ball of your foot. Good. Elbows back, so shoulders are in line. So again, neutral upper body or connected upper body, ribs in. Draw that right knee in towards your chest. Again, with the power of the leg, not from pulling on the arms, let your leg lift up. Good. And then again, pulling that left thigh bone, that's the leg on the ground, up and in, lean slightly forward so your spine stays really upright. And then start to extend that right heel out in front of you, pushing into the strap. Good. Can be lifted as high as you want it to go, but if you lift it up high enough that you're leaning back off of your vertical position, you've gone too far. So stay vertical on your sit bones. Keep the knee slightly bent if you need to, so that you can really focus on pushing through the foot instead of pushing through just the heel. Does that make sense? Push through the ball of your foot and pull that thigh bone up and in. Good. So it should feel like you're constantly trying to lean forward. Good. And then split those legs even higher. Pull that right thigh up, 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 up. There you go. Push through the big toe mound. Push through the ball of the foot. Nice. Bend the knee back in towards your chest. Good. Release the strap and take that leg out and down to the floor. I know that you're like, I would never do Padangusthasana that way. I'm not sure I want to. All right, let's try the other foot. So try it without the strap first, left knee in towards your chest, just so that it's equal aggravation on both sides. Leg that is extended in front of you, foot is flexed, dig your heel down. So again, that leg should be working just as actively as the leg that is lifted. If I had you all with wall space, I would tell you to to try this, pushing that right foot into the wall. So you can always try that. So the right leg can be extended foot flat into the wall. Good. Left knee in towards your chest, reach the arm inside the knee, reach for, again, big toe if you can. That's traditional. First 2 fingers and thumb around the big toe, or wrapping the hand around the baby toe edge of the foot. With the power of the leg, lift the knee up. You're leaning slightly forward. Consistently in this position, you have to feel like you're leaning forward so that you just stay vertical. And then start to extend that foot forward, extend the leg forward. And as you push forward, keep pulling your arm bone back and in so that you're keeping that, again, that framework to work the extension of the leg. It does not matter if the knee is bent or straight. Good. What matters is that you're keeping your spine up. You're keeping your shoulders on top of your hips. You're angling your pelvis into that neutral position. Then you can push out as much as you want or as much as the leg allows, and that's as far as it needs to go. Good. Nice, Shannon. Just pull that arm back and in. So it might take your leg higher. That's what usually happens here, is that depending on your anatomy, is your leg has to go higher for your shoulder to move back and your leg to stay straight. Good. Nice clearing. And then bend the knee, bring it back in, let it go. And then same side, reach for the strap. Good. Or don't. If you like doing it without the strap, you don't have to. But strap around the ball of the foot. Same leg as lifting, left knee. Good. Bring the knee in towards the chest. Shoulders nice and neutral, rib cage in, stacked on top of your hips. Already, if you're starting to lean back, make sure that you have that sensation of leaning slightly forward. You're right on that front edge of your sit bones. And then the left knee pulls in. So again, this is the strength that the thigh has to have. Good. And then start to extend that leg out at whatever angle makes the most sense for you to keep your spine upright. Good. Don't get too muscly in your arms here. Remember, the leg should be able to hold itself. So whatever energy is there, don't just push straight out and have your weight be, or have your leg be a dead weight in the air, right? You're pulling in, thigh is lifting itself. Lean slightly forward. Good. Chest up, chest up, chest up. Nice. Good, Shannon. And then slowly release. Good. Nice, you guys. So give the legs a little bit of a shake. Good. With the legs out in front of you, straight out in front of you. Just click your feet kind of together. Let them fall open, bring them in, fall open, bring them in, fall open, bring them in. Good. Okay. So now right leg stays out in front of you. Draw your left knee back in towards your chest. Second variation of Padangusthasana. Good. Still reaching inside the knee. This time, again, you can reach for the big toe, or it may be easier to reach for the baby toe edge of the foot in this position. So left hand reaches for the baby toe edge of your left foot, or big toe, your choice. And again, with as much power of the leg as you can, stay upright. Lift that knee up towards your left armpit, up towards your left shoulder. So lift it up. Good. And then again, squeeze that left arm bone into the shoulder socket. Good. So your leg is already in this sort of rotated position, right? The toes are already going to go slightly out to the side. Push your inner thigh wide, your left butt cheek wide. Good. Now start to extend your left leg out to the side. Good. So same thing that you just did. You've just changed the angle of the pelvis, or changed the angle of the leg, its orientation in the hip socket. Lean slightly forward. Right arm goes out wide to the right. So you've got this feeling of symmetry. Good. Good. And again, you're pushing through that big toe mound of the foot. If your arm is not straight, go ahead, let it go straight. Yeah. Nice. This is the point of this pose, right? Is you create a framework that you then work within. So if you don't give yourself that full kind of muscular tension and extension, your framework is weak. If your framework is weak, your stretch is going to pull you out, right? Out of balance. Good. Bring the knee back in. Nice job. None of you even need the strap in that position. And then extend the left leg out in front of you. Good. Do the other side. Bring the right knee in. Good. Again, reaching with the right hand. So same hand inside the knee. Reach for big toe or baby toe edge of the foot. Good. And then setting yourself up so that, again, you're towards that front edge of your pelvis. Lift the knee. So again, this is the strength of the thigh, and the outer hip has to be able to squeeze in here. Good. So you squeeze that in, holding its own energy, its own weight. and then start to extend the right leg out to the side, remembering that you are pushing your inner thigh wide. So don't let your toes fall all the way out to the side. You want to have this feeling of pushing the inner thigh wide, rolling the groin, the inner thigh down towards the floor, orient it towards the floor, and then press out through the ball of the foot. Good. Keep your chest up. Other arm is out wide. Create symmetry. Good. Leg on the floor. Flex those toes. Press down through the heel. Again, even this, you're pulling both legs into the center of your pelvis. Really good, you guys. Nice. And then go ahead and bend that knee, please. Good. And set that leg down to the floor. Nice job. All right. Last variation in this version. Right knee pulls in towards your chest. Good. This time you are crossing. So you're taking your left hand to the baby toe side of the foot. It's easiest to hold the baby toe in this position, although you could hold the big toe if you choose. So you're crossing. So the right leg is going to be extending. So you're holding with your left hand. Good. Leaning towards that front edge of your sit bones. Again, lift that right foot up off the floor. You're extending the leg straight out in front of you. So it's straight in line with the hip, but you're turning your ribs to the right. And then right arm comes back behind you. Good. So that's your balance. Turn your gaze towards the right if you can. Lean towards the front edge of your sit bones. Don't let that right leg cross the body. You're pushing it slightly wide. Good. This is one version. This is the seated variation of this part of Padangusthasana, or this third variation. Good. Bring yourself back to center, please. Hug that knee in towards your chest. And then send that leg out and down to the floor. Try the other side. Bring the left knee in. Right hand reaches for the baby toe or the big toe. Sorry, baby toe side of the foot, or anchoring around the big toe. Lift that knee up. Lean slightly forward. And then as you start to extend that leg out, keep pulling that right shoulder in towards the center of your back. So again, everything here is not about how much can I pull away. It's about how much can I pull in. Good. And push out at the same time. So you are leaning slightly forward. You get full extension on the leg. Lift it up as high as it'll go. Right? That's also part of this, is that you can let the leg go higher as long as it doesn't cause you to roll backwards on your pelvis. So Joanne, you're leaning back just a little bit on your pelvis. Lean forward more. That's it. And the other arm is up off the floor. So that also makes it harder for you to lean back because you're not relying on your hand. Good. Twist to the left, please. Belly twist, shoulders twist. Really nice, Shannon. Good. Come all the way back to center, please. Hug that knee in towards your chest. Good. Bend both knees. Plant the feet, squeeze, so curl into a little ball. Good. Just pause for a moment, pressing down through your seat. Nice. And then bring yourself up to stand, because we can't really do Padangusthasana properly if we don't give it attempted. We don't attempt it standing. Good. Now you can use your strap for this, but again, my suggestion is to maybe continue to try to work with the pose with just the range of your own arm without worrying if the leg can come straight. So feet facing straight ahead, both feet facing straight ahead. Left leg, standing leg. So just for a moment, pull your right knee up and towards your chest. Good. Wrap the hands around the front of the knee. Good. Press your shin against your hands so that there's resistance. And as you press your shin against your hands, push your butt back, almost like you're leaning forward. Push your butt back, top of your left thigh goes back. Good. Now scoop your low belly and lift your chest up as much as you can with that knee hugged in towards your chest. Still pushing your shin against your hands. Press your butt back, thigh back. Good. Scoop your belly, lift your chest. Don't lean back. Nice. And then release that foot down to the floor. Good. Try the other side. This is just setting your legs up to stand on. Left knee up. Good. Holding in front of the shin. Again, as you hold the front of the shin, push your shin against your hand. So I want that leg to be really active. Flex the foot. And then at the same time, push the top of your right thigh back, push your butt back. Scoop your low belly, lift your chest up as much as you can. Again, you're using the resistance of your arms, hugging against that shin, and that shin pushing against the hands to open the chest and maybe get into the extension of your spine. Good. One more breath, and then release that foot down to the floor. Nice. So I want you to remember what that standing leg felt like. Right knee back up and towards your chest. Make your standing leg feel just as strong. Top of the thigh pulls back, low belly in. You're pulling up away from your heel. Good. Right hand reaches inside the knee for either the big toe or the baby toe edge of the foot. Keep your shoulders leaning slightly forward to begin so that your butt goes back, your thigh goes back. And now start to extend that heel forward, extend the leg forward any amount, pull back on your arm, pull your arm bone into the shoulder. Good. Lift your thigh higher in order to lift your chest, and then press back again through the top of that left thigh. Good. If that means you have to bend your knee to be able to do that, bend your knee. Pull that shoulder in. Nice. And then bend the knee back in, please. Place it down to the floor. Now I want you to notice, not a single one of you fell out of that pose. Wave a hand at me if you usually fall out of that pose. So good job. Try the second side. Right? Left knee comes up towards your chest. Now that I said something, you're all going to like dramatically fall out of it on this side somehow. Good. You won't because you're paying attention. So activate that standing leg. Butt goes back, lean slightly forward. Good. Left hand reaches inside the knee. Find your big toe or the baby toe. Again, power of your thigh. Your leg is pulling up on its own power. So really push back through that right thigh. Good. And then start to extend that left leg forward any amount. Keep pulling your arm bone into your shoulder. Top of your right thigh pushes back. Lean slightly forward with your shoulders. Push back through the top of your thigh. Good. Leg does not have to be straight, but you're working with the resistance. Pull your arm bone up and in. Lift your chest. Good. Play with bending the knee and lifting your chest back up and then re-extending. Good. Nice, you guys. Right arm can be out to the right. So again, you create symmetry and whole body action. Beautiful. Bend the knee back in. Release the foot back down to the floor. Nice job. Yeah. Good. Ready? We're going to try it to the side. Woohoo. So make sure you have space for that. You might have to turn on your mat if you're in an awkward position. Okay. So left leg, standing leg, draw your right knee in towards your chest. Good. So you can try it like this, right? Reach for the baby cradle if you'd like. So reaching left hand for the baby toe edge of your foot, lift that shin up as high as it will go. So turn the shin parallel to the floor. So you're reaching with your left hand for the baby toe edge. Good. Just baby cradle. So you're just working that angle of, okay, I got to get my hip open. Good. Top of left thigh pulls back. Good. Now move your right knee wider. Place that right hand again to the baby toe edge of your foot. So same hand on the same side of your foot. Good. Hike that knee nice and high. So again, it's the power of the leg. So squeeze your right knee up towards your right armpit. Still leaning slightly forward. Top of left thigh goes up and back. Set that shoulder. Right arm pulls up. Shoulder pulls up. And then start to extend the leg out at the height that your shoulder demands. So you got to switch your hands, Lorraine. Yeah. Good. Knee goes super high, shoulder is in. Start to extend the leg out to the side. Does not have to come straight. Only let it go as far as you can, keeping that shoulder hugged in. Top of left thigh pushes up and back. Lean slightly forward. It's going to feel like it's wrong, but it's not. Good. And then bring that knee back in. Gracefully let it down. Good job. Seriously, you guys, nobody has fallen in any sort of ridiculous way. I'm so pleased. Try the other side. Good. So lifting the left knee. Again, if you want to start with that baby cradle, you can turn the shin parallel to the floor. This is just to get the idea that as you turn that shin, so you're rotating, externally rotating the hip, lift the shin up as high as it will go. So again, you're setting where is my range of motion, right? How much can I lift in this position? Good. And then go ahead and hand that ankle or that foot into your left hand. So it's got to be same arm as the knee that's lifted. Good. Knee hikes up towards your shoulder. So squeeze that knee up with the power of your thigh. Squeeze up, squeeze up, squeeze up. Good. Shoulders are leaning slightly forward, but top of right thigh pushes back. And then start to, as you squeeze that left shoulder in, extend the heel out any amount, but let your shoulders set the framework here. So if your leg has to come higher, let it come higher. Good. Keep your shoulder engaged. Press the top of your right thigh, your right butt cheek up and back. Nice, 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 nice. Good. Butt back, Joanne. Thigh back, thigh back, thigh back, thigh back. Good. And then bend the knee, release it down to the floor. Nice job, you guys. Separate your feet very wide, toes facing forward. So not a squat pose, Prasarita Padangusthasana. So where your legs are nice and wide, forward fold. Good. Just wide-legged forward fold. So turn to the side of your mat. Doesn't matter which side. Nice. Turn to the side of your mat, wide legs, and forward fold. And kiss your dogs if you have them. Good. Relax through your lower back, please. I know this is a lot of leg work, but if we're doing the action of, again, working with the framework of the arms, the hand holding the foot, as we become solid and we don't overextend when we're in that position. That's the beauty of it, is you can't overextend. It's very difficult to do. The resistance makes us wiser, makes us aware of what needs to stay stable and where we tend to over push and where we let go. Right? I push my legs so straight that I've lost the integrity of my pelvis or my spine. Good. Walk yourself towards the top of your mat, whatever direction that happens to be. Good. Step yourself back, downward facing dog, drop down to your knees, child's pose. Good. But getting yourself to the point where you can, we didn't try it today, although it was in my mind to do, of having you go into the positions with no hands whatsoever. So just lifting the knee and extending the leg out forward with no hands. And then taking it out to the side and extending it out with no hands. Right? You train the muscles of the limbs to be able to hold themselves so that the hand at your foot is not a restriction, it's an assistant. Allows you to get further than you could on just the power of the leg alone. But it's not a limitation, it's helping you. Good. Slowly find your way onto your backs. Such a simple pose, but I feel like I still didn't have enough time. Never do. Good. You can use your strap for this one if you'd like. Left leg extends down to the floor. Bring your right knee in towards your chest. We're just going to do the third variation, the one where it comes across the body. So strap around the foot if you'd like. Left leg extended on the floor. If you're using the strap, you're bringing both ends of the strap into your left hand. So you're coming across the body. And then you're letting that right leg fall all the way over to a straight-legged twist. Good. Letting the pelvis rotate, but still with that feeling that you are still in Padangusthasana. You're just twisting. So there's a feeling of trying to press through the big toe mound or the ball of the foot as you push back through your sacrum. So again, pull that thigh bone up and in, hollow your low belly. Good. So let everything rotate completely so that thigh parallels the floor. Your hips are stacked. Good. So Sarah, you got to let yourself go over a little more. There you go. Then you can push back through the lower spine. Yeah. Nice, Lorraine. You could actually let yourself twist a little deeper, Lorraine, let the right hip stack all the way on top of the left. Good, you guys. Same energy in the leg. Bring yourself all the way back up to center. Sometimes we say bend the knee first, but I want you to come all the way back up. Good. And then release the strap. Please take the leg out and down to the floor. Good. Second side, left knee pulls in towards your chest. Right leg extends out. All right, so notice how much crazy wiggling you did to get into that position, right? If your shoulders had to come up and you're straining your neck and you're doing all of this to get the strap around the foot, next time try and make it more about the leg. Your leg comes in far enough that you don't have to move very much to hook that strap around your leg. Good. Once you're there, both ends of the strap into your right hand. Start to take the leg across your body, find the full twist so that your hips are stacking. This is what's important, is that you let the left hip come all the way on top of the right, even if that means that your shoulder comes off of the floor. Good. Yeah, you let yourself go into the full neutral stacking or the full complete stacking. Thighs moving away from each other. Good. And here's where you can start to press back through your lower spine, press back through your sacrum as though there's a wall behind you, hollow your belly. So again, it's going to feel almost like you're trying to fold at your waist. Press your butt back and bring that left thigh, again, parallel to the floor if you can. Bring it up. Good. All right, just soften your knee. So you're pushing through the ball of the foot, but let that left knee get a little softer. Good. I see you're all tighter on this leg somehow. Slowly bring yourself back to center, please. Good. Releasing the strap. Releasing the leg. Draw both knees in towards your chest. Squeeze into a little ball. Good. Massage the lower back, circling the knees. Maybe go the other way too. Good. And then slowly release, extending the legs out in front of you. Stretch the arms up alongside your ears. Full body stretch, reach. And then relaxing, letting the feet drop open, letting the arms come alongside you, palms up. Shavasana. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath, letting the body begin to stretch and move in whatever ways serve it well. Drawing the knees in towards your chest, roll to your right side. And take a moment before you begin to push the floor away. Come back to an upright seated position. Hands resting at the heart center, palm to palm. I like this idea that in the ancient times, right, the things we take for granted that, oh, I can just use a strap if my arms aren't long enough in a pose like Padangusthasana. I can just make it work for me if it's not easy to do. In the ancient times, you wouldn't have had that option, right? You have to work with the framework that you're given. And so the idea of using your hand to your foot and recognizing what the limitation is there, but also the framework that you've been given to find openness, as this is Padangusthasana. Don't just reach for anything. You're reaching for your own self so that you find your edges and you learn how to work within that framework. You get smarter because there's resistance. You get wiser because there's edges to push against. You realize that it's not about having the straightest leg, it's about having the greatest understanding of how your legs fit into your pelvis. And what matters most is staying in that full, complete alignment with yourself, not just one part. So a simple pose, but one that reminds us of a great many things, that you have a framework to work within. And resistance is a powerful thing and a good thing. So you don't run from it, you run to it. What can your own resistance teach you? Close with the sound of Om, deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. I will see you soon. I'd ask for feedback, but I ran over a little bit, so I got to let you go. So you'll tell me how that went another time.
Okay.